Bill, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me.
Dude, we finally actually pressed record. We've tried to schedule this podcast. I think we had some reschedules before the first one because we were both busy. Then we got on a Zoom and just caught up for the full hour. And this time we only caught up for half an hour and we pressed record, but we finally made it happen, dude. I'm looking forward to this. Um, for people that don't know you and your story, give us the spark notes. You know, who you are, where are you coming from, what are you doing now?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So my name is Phil Bohol. I'm the founder of Underdog Uprising. And where I came from originally was actually the Philippines. So we come from very humble beginnings, third world country. My father brought us here, a family of six, and it was a tough time, adjusting to everything. And I didn't realize what the fuck was happening at the time. Can I cuss on this thing?
Yeah, do your thing.
Okay, cool. So we didn't know what the fuck was happening at the time, but I didn't realize like how much of a hard charger my father actually was. It's kind of freaky going from a third world country to a first world when you're the only person that speaks English-ish. Everybody else doesn't speak English, and now you have to kind of command and control the family. So
Yeah.
he brought us up, and at the age of 10, like we all broke apart. We went through a pretty shitty divorce. It is what it is, and through that time, between 10 and about 18. I was probably in one of the darkest places. I was doing drugs, I was drinking, I was partying. Man, I was like 15, 16 years old in Las Vegas doing stupid shit. And it went crazy. I was hanging out with very wrong people. You're talking about people that were strapped, people that could get you killed every hour you're with them.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was probably the shittiest human being to ever waste this opportunity that my father brought us here. My sisters are telling me that I'm like super not inspiring them. I'm like the worst brother. And I finally had like a hard look at myself. And that's why I joined the Marine Corps. And I joined the Marine Corps. I became a machine gunner. And the reason why I became a machine gunner was because I was so weak. There was no part of my body and being that I genuinely felt proud of. And the thought of these savages carrying massive machine guns on their shoulders like it's nothing really attracted me. So I spent 7 years in the Marine Corps. I became a machine gun squad leader. I learned a lot of my leadership ability there. And then after that, I went into the corporate world. So I was a Fortune 500 sales manager. I was making six figures. I became a business manager for another company, was making six figures there. Pandemic hit, global pandemic. And it happened right before or right after me and my wife got into this major accident, right? So we're like, oh, we're going to crush it in the corporate world. We're both making decent incomes. We're probably like right under 200K household. Let's just do this. And then we get into this major accident literally after dinner, celebrating this damn thing because somebody was on their phone and they hit us. And that's when I went kind of into this whole pandemic, right? We had a baby on the way. We were struggling with all of the things that was going through our body. I'm still dealing with a lot of that shit today. And then now there's a global pandemic and I lose my job with a baby on the way. And so after that, I had to figure out if I'm going to work at McDonald's or I'm going to figure out how else to make money. That's when I went online. And so nowadays, I'm a seven figure coach. I built multiple seven-figure companies. But before that, I actually became a closer. And so, what I'm hoping to give value to is just the mindset that it took to go from losing your job with a baby on the way to making 15, 20, 30K per month as a closer, and then eventually launched my own business, multiple businesses at this point. And now I'm in the underdog uprising space. So, long story short, that's been the fucking journey, bro. So, it's been a ride.
Dude, let's go. Let's go. So, when you came to the States, you mentioned partying in Vegas. Was that
Yeah.
where you landed? Was in Vegas?
No, so we actually landed in Oakland, in
Okay.
California, and we kind of moved around in that area. And we lived in Arizona for a little bit, but primarily we ended up staying in California, Oakland area, because that's where Pixar is. That's where my father works, and he's been doing it for like 20 plus years or so. Should be retiring soon, but yeah.
Dude, very cool. You mentioned that he was the only one that spoke English. I know now English is like almost taught in elementary school in the Philippines. Is that
I
correct?
didn't speak English when we came here, bro.
Yeah. So but has that changed over there now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
It
absolutely.
just
There's
hadn't
people that have
happened
never been
during
to the
your
United
childhood?
States or anything like that, and to learn English over there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So you just missed the wave a little bit. What was it like coming to the States and having to learn a new language and dealing with all that?
Dude, okay, so this is a funny thing because I haven't thought about a lot of these things. I haven't really told the whole scope in a long time.
Yeah.
But as far as like the learning curve, realistically, I didn't even realize what was happening, bro. Like just the fact that we moved, I didn't really understand what was happening. But it also makes sense when I think back on it, like why I was so unconfident.
Mm,
Um, I remember being in kindergarten, man, like just trying to figure out like what the other kids were doing, trying to communicate with them. I was the kind of the lonely guy. I'm the guy that's like super happy, but like I wasn't hanging out with anybody. It was a weird situation. And that was basically my entire upbringing in school. I was always the guy that's like, what's up with that dude? But I wouldn't hang out with anybody, you know? And then eventually, like learning English, all that stuff, it was just a natural occurrence. Like there was no like, oh man, it's hard, it's difficult. Like it just, I had to do it and figure it out. And the beautiful part is when we initially moved here, there were I don't know how the fuck Filipinos do it, but Filipinos found each other. And like we found other Filipinos that immigrated as well. And so that kind of helped a little bit with some of that transition. But yeah, that's probably where my lack of confidence came from, bro. That's probably why I became a confidence coach, because
so
that whole
interesting.
time I could not understand people and I felt like a fucking alien. I felt like nobody could understand me. Nobody could understand where I'm coming from. And I couldn't connect on like that emotional level when it came to trust too. Because the fucking people that I did trust, man, when we talk about racism and all that stuff and like shitting on people, that was a real thing. Like even like going through like service and stuff like that, there's a lot
Yeah.
of weird situations that ended up happening. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did you work through it? Because obviously now you've found a blueprint that you've very successfully taught to people. You don't earn the kind of money that you're talking about without doing very well with it. So the
Yeah.
blueprint works. How'd you build the blueprint?
Yeah, man. So this is the interesting part I think that I'm going to teach for the rest of my life. The thing that I thought was weakness when I was a kid, like being in my own shell, like understanding who I was, man, like I was the guy that used to take like his toys and I'd spend the whole afternoon like talking to myself with the toys. You know what I mean? And as I grew up, I was like, no, you're a weirdo. Don't do that. Go hang out with everybody. And a lot of my creativity comes from things like that. Man, I built my first business at 13 years old after that divorce. I sold something, it was like 5,000 or 7.5K paid in full. I bought a BMW cash at 13 and a half years old because I built my own business. And that was from all the creativity. So as I kept going, I was just like, oh, that's a fluke, blah, 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 blah. As I continue to grow and where I'm at now, I realized that all of it was a superpower, as a gift. And what I didn't realize because I was so unconfident that it was a gift, and I kept seeing that all of this stuff is happening to me. I'm a loner. I'm a weirdo. People don't want to know me. Everybody's better than me. Like I'm not even from here. Like there was this whole thing happening in my mind.
Yeah.
As I enter entrepreneurship, and like if I'm like, okay, I want to make $100,000 in a month. Now that I have the confidence, I lean into my creativity. Actually, now that the shell that I have, when I go into it, that's where all my $1 million thoughts come from. And
Yeah.
before I would see it like as a weakness, like I'm weird. Like, why do I do things like this way? Nowadays, I just accept exactly who the fuck I am and I lean into it. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. When we want to go from like where we were to where we want to be, all of the answers are already inside of us. We already know who the fuck we are. We just don't believe it. Because what happens is as we kind of go through time, go through all of our experiences, everybody projects their shit onto us and we believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a piece of shit. You're little. You're not even from here. You're blah, 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 like everything. And you're just like, oh, I'm not from here. I'm a piece of shit. I'm small. Everybody's massive. Everybody can play basketball except me, like all the things. And you believe it. And that becomes your identity. And you bring
Yeah.
that into your adult life. And then now you're wondering why you can't grow business. You can't close deals. You can't build deeper relationships. But it's because you're still wearing the things that other people projected onto you. So all I did, bro, is I started really like taking away all of the identities I thought were mine that no longer served me. And I was like, who the fuck am I actually? Because I know I like weird shit in a sense of like sometimes, bro, like I'm good if I spend a whole weekend with just myself, my wife, and my daughter. Like I don't need anybody. I don't need to talk to anybody. Like, and I can be like super charged up on a Monday, but on Sunday, sometimes I just want a fucking romantic comedy and cry a little bit. And like before, I would have never say that. But now I'm just like, that's who the fuck I am. I'm still a savage, but that's what I like to do.
Hmm.
And I like to play with my daughter and like be all this like this weirdo at the same time. Like I'll make a fuck ton more money than a lot of people, but I don't have to act like it. I
Hmm.
can be me. And once all of that clicks, everything's like in alignment. You bring more energy to sales, to business, to your life, to your relationships, to everything, because you're so filled up and you're so grateful of who you already are. And you're so grateful you don't have to wear this false armor that you thought you had to wear to protect yourself coming up. So I kind of go off on a tangent on this stuff, bro, because there's a
Yeah,
lot
no,
that
that's
I had to go
good.
through.
That's good. So, I guess I'm curious. So you get rid of you stop believing all the bullshit that other people are the labels they're giving you. You start believing the labels that you're giving yourself. But even as you say that stuff out loud, like there's resistance,
Mhm.
right? I guess what do you think it is that leads to that resistance? Like, why is it so challenging? Is it ego? Like, because even we'll use your example on a Sunday, you want to watch you want to go watch The Notebook with your wife and cry a little bit,
Yeah.
right? It's a great movie, by the way. But like, I use that as like a meme, like what do you want, or in the clarity building work that we do with our clients all the time. It's so
Yeah.
freaking good. But when you say that out loud the first time, I'm sure you're like, holy shit, like am I really gonna say that? Like what is
Yeah.
John gonna think? Like what's
Yeah.
Susan gonna think? So number one, what do you think that comes from? And number two, is it just repetition that it gets easier? What does
Yeah.
that look
Yeah.
like?
Great question, dude. Like I think that the resistance itself, it's like it is our most vulnerable state. Like really think about it. Like when we were coming up, like we had to be somebody. So I'll tell you, like when I was in like the Oakland area, right? You couldn't show emotion. You had to be hard. Like people will pull a gun on you. People will literally have like these massive knives going to middle school. People literally get stabbed and shot. You think that you can just be this playful kid that plays with toys while you're walking to school? No. You have to be harder than that. So you have to wear this thing, this false armor. I have to be this way now. I cannot be vulnerable. Otherwise, it's going to be my biggest vulnerability. I'm going to die. And so you do that, then you go to high school. Oh, everybody's dating people. I'm not dating people yet, blah, blah, blah. I don't even have leg hair until I'm 18 years old. What the fuck? And so now you wear all of these insecurities on top of that. And then you're just carrying all of this shit throughout your life. And now when it's time to be authentically you, you're like, well, if I drop this thing's protected me my entire fucking life. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. But I'm so fucking tired, bro. I've been carrying this shit forever. I'm so tired. There's so much armor I'm wearing, and I just every fucking day feels like it is resistance. I'm resisting letting go of these things that no longer serve me. Every
Mm,
time I want to say that I just want on a Sunday watch a romantic comedy, no, I'm gonna get shot. No, I'm gonna get stabbed. Somebody's gonna say or smell the weakness in me, and they're gonna take advantage of it. I can't. I can't show it. And the thing is, it's like those are fears and those are thoughts and those are emotions that came from like our past selves.
yeah.
Like if you think about it in our adult self, like we don't actually think that shit. Like today, I'm like, dude, I literally got trained to kill people. What the fuck? What do you mean you're scared of the dark? You were scared of the dark when you were a kid because you got locked out because you were being a bad kid. And that
Yeah.
was like for 10 minutes, bro. What the fuck do you mean you're scared of the dark? You're a savage. And it's like relearning who you are. And most of the time, we're so busy hustling that we forget like there's somebody wearing all of the hats. Like people always say, like, you gotta know what hat you're wearing. You're the closer, you're the business owner, you're the leader, you're this, you're that. But who the fuck is wearing the hat? And if you realize that it's not the hat that you have to be, it's you already know you. You stop resisting you. And then
Yeah.
you do it for the first time and maybe you say it and you're just like, hey, so like I fucking, I watch romantic fucking comedies, bro. Fuck it. And then like you laugh at yourself because you're like, I don't even know if I was supposed to say that, but fuck it. I wanted to say it today. And then you're just like, oh shit, like I wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like I shared a story the other day. And I really don't share shit like this. I was talking about like one of the first times I ever wanted to like take my own life. And I literally told a story of like me like at this marina, knife in hand, ready to go. And I texted my best friend at the time, and I was hoping in that moment he's gonna say something that's gonna make me like want life again. And what he said to me was something that changed my life. And it was not what I was expecting. I sent it to him and I was waiting. I was waiting for the phone. I was like, if I'm gonna wait for anything, it's gonna be this thing. Because God's not hearing me right now. Nobody's hearing me. Maybe my best friend will. Maybe he's by his phone right now. I finally get a ping back and it goes, at the end of the day, Phil, your problems aren't mine. And I looked at that fucking thing and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I've been so fucking in darkness this entire time. Everybody saw the chaos in my life. The one time I ever dropped my guard, that was the one time, bro. Like I never complained about anything. This is what I get back from somebody I fed, somebody that I gave money to, somebody I've helped change their fucking life. And this is what I get back the moment I drop my armor. That's when I realized nobody's going to give a shit about me. Nobody's going to give a shit about you. So don't expect anyone outside of you to save you. It's going to come from in here. And the deeper you go, sometimes people will go to divinity, but there's sometimes you just have to look inside of yourself. That motherfucker, like nobody's out there to save you. You got to save you. And when you start really understanding that and you start building that deeper connection with yourself, it is through the repetition, because the repetition is what makes you more confident in who you are, who you already are, who you have been. It's you actually being empowered by your story. A lot of the times, because we're the ones that experience it, we see our story as like weakness. And we're like, nah, man, like that, I don't want to talk about that. Like, I don't want people to think that because my family went through a fucking divorce, like I'm this piece of shit, or like I'm talking shit about my parents. Fuck no, dude. I have a better relationship with my parents now than I ever have been because I accepted the shit and I'm not a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, people used to like pull guns on you and fucking have knives and shit. Well, like, don't talk about that because that means you're weak. Like, why didn't you have a gun? Like, what the fuck? No, that was a crazy time in my life. I think we can all agree that's not normal, but I don't need to be a victim about it. It's part of the reason why I am who the fuck I am today.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that all of these things that happen in our life served us in some shape, way, or form. Now, if we want to enter the new evolution, we have to own all of it. We have to be it. We have to live it. We have to be proudful of it. And if people don't resonate with it, who gives a fuck? There's 8 billion people in the world. There's somebody that's going to hear the calling. There's somebody that's going to understand and resonate with the message. And that's all I'm looking for. I don't need to surround myself with people that are only attracted to the false armor. I need you to know me. And if you know me and you can feel all of my conviction, you can feel my energy, and you're like, I want to be a part of that shit, you're my people. And for the rest of my life, I only want to surround myself with my people. I
Yeah.
don't want to carry this false armor anymore, bro. And so it's just repetition. It's learning about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's all the armor sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
It sounds
And
like
that's what it
people
is.
they need to get to the point where they are exhausted and sick of it, right? You always hear the cliche like sick and tired of being sick and tired. And
Yeah.
I feel like it loses its value because usually people are using it while selling an opportunity. But like the reality is we need to get to that moment
Yeah.
and then they can follow that blueprint.
Yeah.
Uh,
You go from like feeling so fucking bad. And at some point, just like in that moment where I received that text back, bro, you go from like being extremely sad to like your consciousness rises when you actually get fucking pissed.
yeah,
You're never going to change your life when you're like sad and depressed and shit. You have to find a way to get pissed at your situation. Don't get pissed at yourself for being in the situation. Get pissed at your situation. You're like, dude, I'm better than this shit.
distinction.
Yeah, massive, massive. I'm better than this. I deserve more than this, bro. Like, I maybe haven't earned it yet, but bro, I'm better than this shit. Like, your problems aren't mine. What the fuck? No, I would never say this to me. Anybody that would ever reach out to me, I would never say this to them. Fuck that. I will never allow anybody to ever control that in me again. I will fill my own cup and I will find it for myself. I am not weakness. I will own my weakness. That's
Was that
power,
your
bro.
inner dialogue when you got that text? Like, was that the shift?
Yeah, bro. 100%. I was so pissed. And I wasn't pissed because I didn't get the response I was looking for. I was so pissed that somebody thought my life was so meaningless. And then it made me realize that I thought my life was meaningless, which is why I wanted to take it. Life is just a fucking mirror. And I realized I need to start looking inward. And it was a change. It was the start of it.
Yeah. How old were you at that point?
Um, I think I was like maybe 16, 17, some shit like that.
Mm, got it.
Yeah.
Um, this is going to be a really aggressive transition, but two things I'm really, really
Yeah.
curious about that I didn't want to interrupt the flow earlier, but I got to know the answers to this.
I
What
did.
was the business that you were building at 13? And then what the hell did you need a BMW at 13 for?
Bro. Okay. So at 13 years old, um, I realized so this is weird that I even knew this because I didn't know it at the time. It kind of just so happened upon me. So at 13 years old, I would play a lot of fucking video games online, all of this shit. And then so I joined forums, right? I don't know what they were called back then. I think it was forums.
Yeah.
But then there'd be people saying, hey, I'm struggling to like get this amount of currency. I'm struggling to get this item. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, just play the game. You'll get there eventually. And then I keep seeing more people. And then eventually I think I saw somebody ask, is anybody selling the currency? Is anybody selling the item? And I'm like, you can do that? And I'm like, well, I'm a 13-year-old kid. I got nothing but time. I didn't know you could sell things. And so I went on this whole like excursion, bro. Like I Googled the hell out of how to build a website, how to buy your own domain, how to sell, how to open up a PayPal account. Like it was a whole thing. Like I was on Google. I was a Google machine. That's why I'm telling you, you have access to everything you possibly could need access to. I literally learned how to code. I learned how to code from MySpace, by the way. And then I learned, you know, you built your fucking layout and shit.
Yep.
I learned how to turn like I'm not even gonna use all the terminology and shit. MD5 hashes, passwords that are encoded, encrypted, blah, blah, blah. I did all this stuff. I Googled it. I was like, what is all this stuff? All this coding stuff? I don't get it. And so I started building this website and then I put the PayPal up and I was like, okay, so how do people get to know like your thing? And then I found out you can actually run ads on Google. And so I started running these ads on Google. If you want to buy all of the currency and all of these items, go to my website. And then people started buying the thing. And then I was like, oh, if I'm doing this, are other people doing this? So I started researching all my competition. And then I started charging double of them. And then so what people were doing was they were paying me cash for a currency that I was just doing on my free time. And then I had this one fucking item that for some reason was hard to find in the entire fucking game. And this dude, no shit, in China said, I want to buy that thing. And I'm pretty sure it was like 7,500 what I listed it for. And I was like, bro, let's do this 5,000 all in. I'll fucking send it to you. And then he's like, let's do it. And I remember this distinctly because before I even closed the deal, bro, I said, can I ask you a question? And he goes, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, why would you spend $5,000 on like a video game? And then he goes, okay, so like, yeah, great question. It's kind of like having a Ferrari. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, it's kind of like having a Ferrari. It's like the nicest thing. Everybody's looking at you. You know that you got the thing that everybody wants. I want that for me. And when I heard that, I was like, I don't fucking get that, bro. I don't get that. But like, I get it, but I don't get it because I was fucking 13, bro. And
Yeah.
so I was like, all right, cool. So I sent him the invoice. He paid 5K. I sent him the thing. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And so I got the deposit. I printed out cash. And I remember telling my dad, I go, I want to go buy a BMW because I think he had a BMW. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to get a BMW too. Like I get BMWs. But that's when I started realizing like what value actually meant. It's having something that people want or desire they can't get for themselves. And you trade whatever you want to for the end result that they want. Because what he said changed the game for me. Because I was like, a Ferrari and a video game are very different things, but it
Yeah.
wasn't different to this guy. And he was willing to part ways with money because money wasn't as valuable as the feeling that he got from having the thing that everybody in the game wants. So it was game changing, dude. Like I paid for when we were struggling with money, bro. I had money. When
Yeah.
we didn't have lunch money, I had lunch money. When all of my buddies were struggling because of their family struggles, I had money. I was the provider during that time, and I didn't realize what I was doing, bro. Is crazy. I bring everybody lunch. I treat everybody out. I treat everybody like they should have experienced life, bro. And it was a whole
Yeah.
thing. But at the same time, I was so young, and I was like, "This is dumb." And then I started drinking and doing all the stupid shit.
Jeez. That's interesting. So like his lesson was almost around manufacturing confidence externally,
Yeah,
right? Because it like
yeah,
things they would inflate our ego. We feel good. It increases validation, whatever word we want to associate there.
yeah. In his mind, it was status for sure.
Yeah. So you bought a BMW and what did it just sit in there? You're 13 years old, bro. What the hell?
Yeah. So
That in the garage?
so I couldn't drive it. This was the stupidest part. I remember this. Okay. So we went to go buy the damn thing cash. I couldn't even drive it at home because my dad was like, you can buy it, but you just can't drive it. And I was pissed, bro. Like I did all this stuff and I was like, I'm gonna be a
I can't
savage. It was
believe he
a
let you
nine,
buy it.
yeah, 1993 BMW 325i, bro. Is a beautiful thing.
That's so cool.
And like we go to the city, I think it was Daly City, up north in Northern California. And like we buy the thing, bro. It was like a cloudy day. It was a beautiful day. And I was like, damn, I'm gonna be able to drive this thing home. And he wouldn't let me. And I was like, fuck, it's my fucking car. And it was one of the things I wanted for myself that nobody could take away. So my sister ended up driving it home. And yeah, it's stuck around basically collecting dust until I actually got my permit. So yeah, here's the thing.
And that was that you were in California at that point or
Yeah,
Vegas at that point?
California.
Was that 16? You had to wait until your permit, or was that a weird
No,
state?
I think
15?
like it was like 15. I think you could actually get your permit at 14 and a half with consent. But it
Okay.
wasn't, I didn't have to wait till I was 16 for sure. I was like
I
young. I was like driving. I don't know if I can say this. Let's just say that I was driving. I was driving.
there you go. I'm pretty sure I had to wait until 16. It was like 16, and then you had to wait until 17 to get your license after the permit, unless you did driver's ed, and then it could be like 16 and a half in
No,
New
bro.
York.
I
Something like that.
distinctly remember getting my license at like 16, and I distinctly remember driving before that. Let's just put it that way. For a while.
There you go. Dude, that's awesome. That's so cool. Um, all right. Talk to me about the last couple of years. I know we only have a couple minutes left here, but we connected 2.5, 3 years ago almost,
Yep.
at very similar stages of our journey. We've both had our own journey over the last 3 years and had some massive wins and, massive lessons as well. And it's been so awesome to see this like seemingly meteoric rise that you've been on, specifically the last like 12 months or so, maybe 18 months or so. And I know I've learned a ton from you just through our friendship and the circles that we run in. And what do you think led to that meteoric rise?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like all of this is because of my family. Like, I would not be the man I am today without my family. Like, there is no doubt in my mind. I would have not pushed so hard, as hard as I did, if I didn't know it was for them. Because I could fail, I could lose everything, I could struggle, but knowing that somebody else may struggle because I wasn't willing to push through, that was a big driving force for me. So I will always give credit to my girls because they're the reason why I am who I am today. Number one. Number two, man, like I don't know what it was during the time. Like when I first started making like $15,000 a month with my coaching business, people told me that that wasn't possible. When I went from 15 to like $50,000 in like a quarter in about 3 months, people told me it'd take years. When I went from 50 to 100 the next quarter, people told me that's not possible. You got to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And I did it. People told me I couldn't have a 6-figure live event online for my first one. And I did it. People told me I couldn't do 7 figures with my business. And I did it. Then I built a $1.2 million business in 2 weeks for my second business. Now I have another business that I just launched that's already going to be a 7-figure business in the first 30 days. Every time somebody tells me I can't do something, I don't take that negatively. I take that as I can appreciate your mindset. I'm going to show you how my mindset's totally different. I'm going to believe so heavy that I can create anything I set my mind to, because the moment I say it, I do it. Nobody in this planet will ever be able to say Phil didn't do everything he fucking said he would. There is nobody that could ever take that away from me because my word is me. I will always follow through with my word. And every time things got tough, man, because I'm not saying that that shit was easy. I don't want anybody listening to this right now to think that like it was easy. There were times where, especially in our previous home before we like moved to this one, there was times where I had like the office like a third of the size, because this office is huge, a third of the size. I would spend like crying, bro. Like sometimes I'd spend time under my desk. I'd like literally be hitting my head against my desk, and I'm asking myself like, am I risking my fucking family's life here, bro? Night after night after night, depressed as fuck, then having to show up like I'm gung-ho happy. And then after cameras are off, lights are off, I'm fucking crying by myself, and my wife didn't know shit about it. I didn't let her see that version of me, because what would that do? We already had a baby on the way. We already had a baby. She's already going through all of that. And so I had to go through all of this darkness on my own again. And there were so many trials, man, so many emotional trials. And darkness started coming up for me. I started having very dark thoughts again. Like it was a whole fucking thing. And it's very important that whatever stage you're at in your journey, it's very important to go back to like your driving force. Like, why the fuck would you walk through 1,000 miles of glass to get to where you're wanting to go? If you're stuck in the desert, you got no food, you got no water, and all you have is your will and your spirit. What would make you get the fuck up so you can survive? What is that thing? And if you can find that through all of the darkness, you will find a way forward. You can accomplish anything. You just cannot be your own limit. And the thing for me, man, is I used to tell people all the time, like all the crazy shit that I would do. And I didn't even know how the fuck I was going to do it. Anytime somebody's like, oh, I need to think and I need to plan shit out, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, bro, like that's probably why you're stuck. What I do is I just say I'm going to do this crazy fucking thing and then I do it. I don't know how I do it, but the stars fucking align. I don't know if it's a divine intervention. I don't know if I'm just a lucky bastard, which I know I'm not. It's fucking the opportunities present itself because I've been battle tested every time to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And I take every fucking opportunity. I'm never ready, ever. But I'm good with that. That's why I'm always free flowing. I'm always flying. I'm just like, I'm just having fun, man, because at the end of the day, I can always just go work at McDonald's. I could always live a mediocre life. The door is always fucking wide open. It's always calling to us every fucking day. Come on, man. Just work here. Just do the bare minimum. Just eat your food, do your thing, live a mediocre life. Every day it's there. You can always walk through that door. So why the fuck wouldn't I spend the rest of my life showing myself I don't need to walk through that door? I'm going to show everybody in the world what can happen when a kid that immigrated here to have opportunity, what he does with fucking opportunity. And like I said, it's not easy, even at these levels. I just fucking had a breakdown like 2 months ago. There's this whole evolution. I went to $1 million mastermind. And then during that time, I had this big fucking epiphany. And I was like bawling, crying. I was like, what is my mission? And I had like this whole thing. And then I came back, charged the fuck up, ready to attack the hill, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you got to accept you. Like, I accept me so much that like nobody can stop me. Everybody that wants to talk shit, be a limitation, I let that feed the flame, because then I take it and then I burn it as fuel every single fucking time. And then I show everybody, like, come on, tell me, what are you struggling with? And let me show you the way forward. You just have to think different. You have to be surrounded by different energy.
Yeah.
And that's how I took those quantum leaps, bro. Every time people believe somebody else's weakness, I just didn't. I said, no, I'm tired of that. I live that life. I've done that my entire life. I don't need to, nor do I want to do that, because now my family's waiting for me. Literally, my bloodline is waiting for me. Everybody's waiting for me, because if I fall off, everybody suffers,
Yeah.
because nobody wants it as bad as me. And that's okay. That means I can't get mad that I have to go through hardship to get what I want. I asked for this. And you just have to keep believing that. And you got to keep feeding that. And you got to fucking be a psychopath and talk to yourself sometimes and be your biggest fucking cheerleader and be your best friend when you need it the most. Everything, all the time. And then you show everybody else the best parts of you, and you show your inner circle, the people you actually trust, everything. Because you need to serve and inspire the world, and you can be authentic with them. But there's some things you just keep to yourself, keep in your household. The things that really break you that you want to keep private, do that. Because sometimes you don't need the judgment from the world. Sometimes you just need that time to hear your calling, to hear the calling, to learn through that. Go through your shit, figure it out, reach out when you need help. And it's just this constant evolution, man. And the more you do that, the more confident you get. And at some point you start like throwing out hundreds of thousands of dollars, doing all these big bad things. And you're just like, holy fuck, like I would have never thought about this shit before.
Yeah.
But you just become more confident because you're like, I'll just pick myself back up, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck. That's it.
Money. Dude, where do you hang out most on social? Where can people follow along, get in touch with you, learn about what you're doing? Plug away.
Yeah, man. Really just Instagram, bro. Phil Bohol, first name, last name on Instagram. I post a lot of content that I hope is helpful as far as like anything lifestyle related. I talk a little bit about sales and business and stuff. I talk a lot about my wife and my daughters. And yeah, I try to add as much value into my story. So you can give it a follow there. And we'll just leave it at that, bro.
Money, dude. Money. Last question I have for you. Going all the
Yep.
way back. Coming
Yep.
over here at a pretty young age, moving from town to town, having to build up this armor, right? Having to be a certain person and starting to build this up. And then, starting the business at 13, making all the money, selling this thing in a video game for $5,000, and then buying a BMW with cash when you can't even drive it. And then progressing through that partying age and, continuing to grow as a business owner, starting to build a family. And having that accident, which we didn't even spend much time on, which maybe we'll have to run back around to after we try and reschedule that one 5 times. But having this pivotal accident, you and your wife, and losing your job during the pandemic and moving online, and then experiencing this meteoric rise over the last 3 years that you've experienced, all the way to where you're at right now, multiple multi-7-figure companies, just absolutely crushing it. This entire window, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned that has yielded the most results and had the biggest impact on your life and in your business?
Yeah. I'm gonna give the answer that's the truest to me right now. Being grateful for everything I already have, everything you already have. It's the most simple and the most basic thing. Nobody wants to believe that's the answer, but that's the answer. We're always constantly chasing and chasing and chasing, trying and trying and trying, whether that's to survive or to grow, that we forget to live our lives. If I could go back and redo all of this and it wouldn't change who I am today, I would just advise myself and mentor myself to be more present in my life, to care about my relationships, to care about myself, to actually take care of myself and ask myself, what do you need? What do you want right now? It's important. Reminding myself that this is my life to live. And at the end of this journey, I don't want to have regrets. And the only way you're going to do that is if you truly squeeze everything you got out of every day of your life. And if you do that, what happens is you feel so full every day. You pour in so much more into everything that you do, everything, and you feel happier because that accident, I didn't even expect what was going to happen that night. That's like death right there. We were the happiest we've ever been without even us doing anything. Life was almost taken from us. And that's true every day we wake up. So why do we struggle so hard to appreciate the lives we already have, wanting to get to this next level so fast, we forget to live and we waste these minutes, these moments? If we learn to appreciate and have gratitude towards everything we already have and understand we're already ahead of the fucking game, bro. Like where we come from to anything here, anything, we're already ahead of the game. Why can't we appreciate that? Because that's where we bring all of our struggle into the next step and the next step when it's like, dude, just slow the fuck down. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast for a reason. Slow down. Who's rushing you? You're rushing you. Why are you rushing? Take the time. You need it. That doesn't mean you can't like hustle and move and move and move, but you have to appreciate every second. You have to. And if you can learn to do that, I promise anybody that's listening or watching this, you will live a better fucking life. You're going to have deeper relationships with everybody in your life. You're going to make a fuck ton more money. You're going to live with mission and impact. And you're going to be so intentional about your day, knowing that every second could be the last one. And you just want to squeeze whatever life has to give you.
Boom. Bill, thanks for joining me, brother. Really enjoyed this.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me on.
100%.